Hey guys, it's Jenny Wolek with the Wolek Group, Keller Realty in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am here with my friend Chris Upham out
Hey
of
guys.
out of the DC area. Chris, I'm so excited to chat with you today, and thank you for taking your time. I know you're a very busy man. We got
Absolutely. We're excited to be here. I mean, you've got quite the following and TV show you put on here nationally every week, huh?
No. Well, it's just so much fun because I'm just learning from all you smarties, and I'll just rip off and duplicate, and the way that we do that here at Keller Williams, right? Well,
Absolutely.
we got to be on stage together, which was super fun.
Yeah, the Spring Masterminds, that was a tremendous honor to be able to work with Diana Kokoska and Tony Cello, heroes of us, to be able to be on that Follow the Model panel, of which I was blown away with how ingrained the models are in your life and business and your language. So.
Well, and I'll admit that being on stage and I wasn't fully able to listen and absorb everything you were sharing. So that's why we're doing this here today. So I can take notes now and learn from you. So first off, just tell everyone real quick how you got into this crazy business, where you're from, all that good juicy stuff. And then we'll dive into the meat of the day.
Sure, absolutely. I got in the business just almost about 14, 15 years ago here in the DC area. And it was actually while the military was sending me to grad school, 3 or 4 nights a week. And they were paying my tuition and salary to show up at class. And so what does a young, type A entrepreneurial type of person want to do but try to double my money, and got into real estate and started working on Capitol Hill. Fast forward, I ended up doing about 36 deals in 2009, and had the president of Coldwell Banker Mid-Atlantic come and bring in a video crew to say, hey, Chris, how did you do it? And I was like, well, pontificated on that. In some ways, I feel like that was one of the worst things that could have ever happened to me, because it made me feel like I knew what I was talking about, when really I didn't really know anything at all. And it was about 3 years later that I really kind of came in tears to a coach saying, I need your help. And that was one of those things from the 6 personal perspectives of really being able to come back into a place of being learning based, which was huge. And really being able to, that was also at the time in 2012 when I joined Keller Williams, and being able to learn more about the proven models, systems, and tools that MAPS Coaching and Keller Williams has for us.
And you have just dove right into it.
Yeah. So, I've had an opportunity to have a mega agent team. I've had an opportunity to be a part of some top expansion teams across the nation. Today, I'm in a regional director role with the Fulcrum Properties Group. We operate out of the DC area only. And last year we did about 253 units for about 151 million in volume. That was with 7 agents in production in 3 locations. This year we're on track for about 380, 400 units, about 190 million in volume, and that's with about 21 agents in 7 locations. And so most of my time is spent actually going and meeting with leadership throughout the region. Our goal is to have 5 5-person agent teams in each of 50 market centers in our DC area, everywhere from Norfolk up to Baltimore, and that we will essentially, that they'll be supported at a very high level by 75 local admin and operations, closing 6,000 transactions a year. So that's what we're working towards.
Wow, my head almost just exploded. That is amazing. So explain exactly what your role is inside of that.
So, obviously I'm in production. I sell houses. I help lead one of our locations, of which I'm working to turn that over to Anna Genn, who's an amazing agent in our team, for her to be able to be leading that location, which for me will essentially be achieving a dream of having my business be 7th level, with her being able to be leading that. So that's great. But then really I'm heading up this Fulcrum training events, which is where we're going to team leaders all across the region. And this is really our growth strategy, is that we're going to the team leaders, the leadership of the offices, the Keller Williams offices, sitting down with them, doing a little consulting with them. Hey, what's going well in the market center? What challenges are you having? What's your agent mix and count look like in terms of, a lot of times you'll find folks have a lot of new agents, or agents in the productivity program, or they've got people who are mid-level and they're trying to get leverage and move on to the next thing. So be able to consult with them on that. And then we say, hey, listen, the way that we as Fulcrum Properties Group can help is that we've got this list of 16 classes, courses, trainings, panels, and events that we can put on for you. And you just kind of go through and select off this list like a sushi menu and tell us which ones you feel like your market center needs. We'll go ahead and we'll get the talent in there. We'll promote it, through Brokermetrics email lists throughout the region. We'll get agents in from outside of your market center. We say our goal is just to help every agent in that market center be more productive, more profitable, and be able to help the team leaders and the leadership grow their market center with agents from outside of Keller Williams. And so, that's just our number one goal. It's like from Go Giver to really be able to help. There's that book, Go Giver, and I never really kind of understood, it's got this principle. If you help enough other people get what they want, then you'll get what you want. And I never really quite understood that until we started to do this. And really our only goal is to help those agents and those leaders get what they want. And as a byproduct, we find that 3, 6, 9 months later, someone in those market centers raises their hand and said, you guys are cool. I want to be part of you. And so that's what we've been doing. But so we've got a number of classes and courses and trainings that we do in the market centers. One of them that we'll do is it's kind of our signature kickoff panel. It's called How to Sell 30 to 40 Homes a Year from Your Sphere of Influence. And what we'll do is we'll bring a handful of agents from our team to that market center and be able to just dive into a panel where we're breaking this down with agents from our team that are doing this. So that's one thing that you had mentioned that kind of struck your ear of, that sounds like something people would like to know about.
Well, it does. Now, before we dive into the 3 steps that you're going to share, I've attended ESO a few times, and this is one of the things they talk about doing is go to the market centers where you eventually like to expand and be a giver, give to the team leader. Are you getting any pushback or any negative feedback? Is it all open arms, come on in?
Oh, well, and so, I've been involved with expansion now for a few years, and we're going to be down in Austin at ESO coming up here at the end of next month in June with David Hoffman, and we're excited about that. And matter of fact, I think they're working on a rewrite of ESO, and so we're working on giving some of our feedback on lessons learned of where we're at in there. But one of the things that I definitely have found is that when you come from contribution to a market center, in terms of, hey, we're here to help all your agents, and we're here to help you grow your market center from agents outside of Keller Williams, that really kind of ends up being, and that you're able to be there. We're there once or twice a month, every month on a consistent, ongoing basis. When you're able to be that plugged in and coming from that much contribution, we find that the team leaders just love it. Matter of fact, we're saving the day for them. We're really helping to provide programming that is helpful for them. So we find that is really helpful. I think that sometimes when you kind of call in from cross country and say, hey, I want to expand in your area, I can come teach in your market center. Great. It'll cost $7,000. That doesn't really end up opening that door to reciprocity that we've been finding where, sometimes we're helping them bring agents into the market center. And actually, in fact, last week we taught 3 different places and had 67 agents in the market centers. And we helped those TLs book 14 recruiting appointments right there during those trainings. When there was guests. And one of the things that we do when we're sending the team leaders the MailChimp, hey, here's the agents who have opened these emails. So we're able to give them, out of 3,000 agents in your area, these 400 are the ones who are looking at and watching this stuff. And here's how many times they clicked it. And here's ordered by their production. And then kind of giving them some best practice scripts of, hey, follow up with them beforehand, invite them to the training. And then here's, but at the training, what we find is that there'll be a number of them that perhaps, aren't familiar with the MREA manual. And, I'll bring up the team leader, during a break and say, hey, listen, some of you guys mentioned you aren't familiar with it. You don't have a copy of this book. Hey, Mr. Team Leader, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but would you be willing to have a business consultation with them in terms of helping them break down and identify the needs for the next steps in their business, and maybe also give them a copy of the book? They're like, absolutely, we'd be happy to do that. And each of those, we've had agents running up from other companies and giving a copy of their business card and booking appointments with those TLs. So that's been a huge value add for the market center and really for the agents. So
I love it. It's also real helpful that you are purposely staying close to where you are already located.
When I first heard, about Tom Kavanagh and Ty Voyles, our founder at Fulcrum Property Group, their vision of, they're in my brokerage, so I knew of them for years. I've been attending career visioning with Tom and Ty, and pretty soon they started, it's like, wow, they're on the map. They're doing huge things. But when I heard, hey, their vision is to be local, I thought, well, that's quaint. I've come to find, a matter of fact, for ESO2, some of the feedback that I was giving is that it turns out that follows the ink spot model that Gary Keller talked about. And that it actually, he said, do it this way, the way that I built this company. And that by doing that, it allows you to do a handful of things really well at a high level. Number one is to be present on a consistent basis. Number two, the momentum and credibility that you have locally matters to the people. Whereas, you might be a national top icon nationally, but 99.9% of agents in the local area don't follow that and don't know who the heck you are. And so, but then also we find that it really helps us to be able to support the agents at a high level with the local boots on the ground listing management, which, that gets to be a challenge, when you're expanding, and dropping into a location, is mostly the economics of how do you have some boots on the ground admin support. There's certain things, TC, you can do virtually, but there ends up, for signs, lock boxes, a number of kinds of things where having boots on the ground help. And if you're able to sit there and be following this expansion model ink spot of the next market center over, and so you could have one local boots on the ground listing manager who's supporting agents from 3, 4, 5 different market centers, that starts to become economically better. So.
Wow, I love all that. Well, let's get into the 3 steps that will help us sell 30 to 40 homes in a year.
From your sphere of influence. That's right. And by the way, there's 1,000 ways to sell real estate, and you really just have to get good and dig down into mastery of probably 2 or 3. Yeah. And that really, comes from our 135 GPS of really developing a business plan of how we're going to go about that. But in these pillars of our business, and I've probably spent a few $1 million on internet leads and, gone down this whole path and ISAs, and basically, that's all good and great. But I've kind of come to the understanding that our sphere of influence has to be a foundation in the very first pillar of our GPS 135 business plan. And so in that, and this is really what we end up talking to agents about all across the region. And the very first step is, you have to have a database. And when I talk about this, I don't mean a cool, shiny, CRM. We'll talk about that in a second. You actually have to have a list of the people who know you, like you, trust you. And it turns out most agents don't. They don't actually have this list. So we break it down. And that is, okay, you need to be starting to write down. And you could start with a spreadsheet. You got to have first name, last name, email, cell phone, street address, city, state, zip, so that you can send emails, you can make phone calls, you can send, a postcard in the mail. And what we recommend, because usually I find that most people just don't have this at all. So we recommend to start with a spreadsheet, put these up at the column headings up there, and just start writing names. Just start writing the names that you know. Take it from Facebook, take it from your phone, take it from Gmail. Just start writing down the names, as many as you can get, just writing the names. And then start to go fill in the information that you have. Maybe you've got an email, maybe you got a phone number, maybe you got an address from Christmas card lists, wedding lists, those kinds of things. And then you'll find, so go get as far down as you can that way. And then you'll start to find you have holes in the data. So what we found works really well is to then go through and reach out to the people with whatever contact info you have. Maybe you got only LinkedIn, or maybe you got Facebook Messenger, maybe you got text or something, but reach out to them and say, hey, I wanted to send you an invite, but I didn't have your address. Mm-hmm. And, everybody wants to be invited. And so, by the way, we tell our new agents, don't fall into the pitfall, because they'll ask, well, what's it for? When is it? And that sort of thing. Don't get into the pitfall of telling them anything about that. Well, I'm new to real estate, or, whatever, because it'll just give them a reason to say no. And now you're back to even more difficult a position than you started with. Just say, hey, we don't have all the details firmed up yet, but I wanted to make sure that you're included. Everybody wants to be included in the invite, so if you're able to then ask us, hey, we want to send you an invite, but I didn't have your address. And then you can even take it the next step further. Okay, awesome. We'll also, just what's your best email or something. So you're able to then fill up that thing and really just get through. And now you actually have a full database, and usually in this point of the conversation, people will get to talking about CRMs. And as we know, there is no perfect CRM. All of them have things about them that people don't like. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars of CRMs. There are cheaper free ones. They are just as good, and have just as many things that are great about them and things that frustrate people. So, pick a cheap free one. E-Edge is one. As we know, Keller Williams is building out some amazing things with Command, so that'll be good. People mentioned some other types of, cheap, free, easy ones, but that's really it. And truthfully, I ran our mega agent team off of Google Sheet, really. Because even that top producer can't even spit out a mailing list for mailing address labels, right? So, but you can do that off of a Google Sheet. And really it's, most of the time these agents will spend 6, 8, 9 months thinking about which CRM they're going to get and testing it and trying it out. And then, well, I don't like that one, I'm going to get a new one. And they spend, a year when really all you just need is the actual list of people.
Yeah.
So then the next thing is you really need to have, need to be aiming for a target of 250 people. And a lot of times we'll see people come up with, okay, well, I got 6, or I got 20, or I got 60, or I got 120. And, you're getting over 100. Okay, that's a good start. Now, one of the things we find is it'll often be about a 10-to-1 ratio in terms of closings for number of people in your database. I know Tom Kavanagh and Ty Voyles, our founders, they each have about 450, 470 people in their Met database, and they'll consistently generate about 45 to 47 deals a year. So, if you're going to want to be closing those 30 to 40, you should have 300 to 400 in your Met database. And those really, they need to be quality people that you actually know. And if you don't have that many yet, go back to what are the ways you get in relationship with people: the neighborhood, the gym, the school, the PTA, all the parents, going to the, I've got kindergartners and preschoolers going to those birthday parties for them. The soccer team, the t-ball team, church, whatever all these things are that one might do, really kind of dig into being involved with those, and that as you're building those relationships, those people can be on the database. So anyways, you need to be building that out. And then the next step is that you really actually have a set time of day that you're going to call and be in relationship with these people. And at Fulcrum Properties Group, we say, hey, 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. Maybe that's because 9 to 9:30 we've been gathering up together as a team and having a huddle and kickoff and power up and those kinds of things. Watching Diana's power up. So, but anyways, that you have a set time that this is your lead generation time, and then here comes the kicker: that you actually do it during that time. And what we find is that is a challenge. It's been a challenge for me. I know for most people it is. So the best ways to really to get leverage in that and gain traction is to, if there's some agents in your market center or anywhere that you find are good with their lead generation habit, ask them, can I come do it in the room with you? And just having somebody else you're meeting with, it's like having a friend or a buddy that you're going to go to the gym with. That if you're both showing up, someone's going to miss you. And if there's somebody who has a really good habit of doing that lead generation, they usually want to share that with people. And so they'll be more than happy to allow you to jump in there and do that with them. And I find that just being able to kind of be in that habit, that really helps well. So then, at Fulcrum, our business is based upon sphere of influence and events. So, and this is what I recommend, because there's a number of things you could do and say when you then call up these people. At Fulcrum, our approach is just to be in relationship with the people and invite them to cool stuff. And so, for example, last week we had our client event out at the winery. And so, for the previous month, we can be calling them all up and inviting them out to the winery. I think that, if there's all kinds of great ideas of things you can do, usually when we're masterminding with agents on this, they're looking for something that is, low cost, no cost. And usually what I'd say to folks is whatever the event is and how much it costs and the efforts that go into planning it actually has zero impact in what your results can be. It really doesn't matter. It could be free, something for you to put on, and it can have the exact same impact as some, giant, thing that took you, all this time and effort and money to put on. So really, it's not about what the thing is. And really, it could sit there and be inviting people over to your house to grill chickens. I mean, really, it can be. And, that doesn't cost you more than $40, $50 at Costco or something, right? But really, it just gives you an opportunity to call through everybody and say, hey, listen, we're going to be having a gathering up at the house and want to invite you out. And truth is, the people aren't all going to be able to come, but it's just in the course of being able to be in relationship with them. And I think that, that's the type of a thing that people could, if you can't call up your friends and invite them over, maybe you probably just need to be in a different business or something. But, that's something that doesn't have to cost a lot of time or money, but, is just able to be in relationship with people. And just in the course of having called through everybody and inviting them is where kind of some of that just being in touch and relationship can happen. And what we find is that inevitably the people will bring up real estate. And, when they show up, they'll talk about real estate. And it never ceases to amaze me how people, oh, well, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that. And you sit there and think, if I had not had this event and called these people or had them show up, I wouldn't even know that all those things were happening. So just being able to call and invite them. And, we don't even necessarily put on a big show about real estate or anything else like that when we get there. We're just in relationship with the people. But hey, look, it could be going and getting some wine and cheese and cheese and crackers from Sam's Club and bringing them over to your office, and just saying, hey, we have a monthly happy hour at the office. Love for you to stop by. And so really it's just the aspect of touching everybody, inviting them to something fun and cool. And, that could be a phone call. It could be a postcard. It could be an email. It can be a number of these things. It can be an RSVP follow-up text in advance, which can be a text touch to everybody saying, hey, I noticed you signed up, or I noticed you didn't sign up. We'll usually try to drive them to either an Eventbrite, where we'll recollect their contact info, especially if we're missing any pieces of info. And we will we'll have a place in there where they can say, hey, do you know anybody that might be thinking about selling a home in the next 6 to 12 months who might also want an invite? And I found that, and by the way, give a place for them to give the contact info, that people will give and make introductions and connections. And they'll also use that as the opportunity to say, hey, we're actually moving and selling next year. And so they'll use that opportunity to raise their hand. So that's really kind of this thing is if you do that, if you do these just steps, this is the steps to sell.
Now you shared something and you've said it lightly. I'm going to let you say it again. Now you are a little flexible with your agents on the kinds of touches. They can be a mix.
Yeah. It's interesting. As I've kind of connected up with Tom Kavanagh and Ty Voyles in this, if, essentially they'll say, if you spend these 2 hours reaching out to folks and you might touch 10 to 20 people during that time. And, ideally it'd be a phone conversation, but if it's a text message or a voicemail or something hey, do that. And by the way, if you're 70% compliant in a week, and I think that truthfully, hey, if you're really good with a huge, rigid, disciplined lead gen thing, hey, knock it out. Knock yourself out of the park. That's great. Most of us struggle with having something. And if you're able to do this and have something practical that you can do, that makes a huge difference in the business.
Well, you guys are making a huge difference in the business, and I appreciate you sharing all of this information. And I know that I bet I could get you to share some of this with me that I could share with anyone else, right?
Absolutely.
You're a great giver. You are a go-giver. Well, so if anyone has a referral to share with you guys, how can they get that to you?
Sure. Yeah. So we're in the DC area, and our website is Fulcrum PG, short for propertiesgroup.com. Also, they can write at agent. I think we might have a phone number or something like that over here. Here, look at this.
Yeah.
Fulcrum PG, agent at fulcrumpg.com. We got a phone number there, 571-357-3827. I hope I'm reading that backwards. But anyway, so yeah, absolutely.
That looks good. Well, Chris, thank you for your time. I'm so happy I got to know you even better. And I look forward to seeing you real soon, okay?
Yes, you too. Thank you so much.
Right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Guys, if you need anything from me, my number is 918-706-9845. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.